Welcome to Gray to Great, the podcast where we will pull back the curtain on what it truly takes to thrive as a corporate retirement plan advisor in today's tech-powered business world. I'm Dan Dal Degan, but all my friends call me Triple D. As a former sales leader and CEO and now board member of the parent holding company of the Great Great Trust Company, I know that success in this field goes beyond the numbers. In each episode, I'm going to team up with one of your peer retirement plan advisors to bring you the strategies that separate the best from the rest. From prospecting and referral business to challenger selling and tech adoption, we're diving deep into the parts of the business that too many of us overlook. Whether you're here to sharpen your skills or if you're looking for the next big idea, this is where the playbook gets rewritten. So get ready for sharp, actionable insights that'll take your practice to the next level. Because in sales, there's no gray area. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gray to Great. I'd like to welcome Renee Scherzer, our guest today. It's delightful to have you, Renee. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
And you are joining us from Phoenix, if I recall?
From Scottsdale, Arizona, yes.
Funny, indeed. I'm quite jealous of that looking outside here in Chicago speaking of gray, at the skies here. Well, I've been very excited about this conversation because in this series, this podcast series where we invite noteworthy, accomplished retirement plan advisors to join us and talk about their best practices, you have so much to offer. And I'd love to just hear a brief background on what you do at OneDigital, what your role there is, your career arc. And then I'm going to have some questions to lead the audience and some of the areas I think there will be some significant value you can bring them.
Great. Well, as you mentioned, so Renee Scherzer from Scottsdale, Arizona. We've been part of OneDigital for 2 years. My husband has a benefits practice and myself retirement, and we both sold together 2 years ago. So we really are, we've been doing this for over 25 years. Been, really for myself, most of the years independent, and so excited to be part of a larger group. So now we cross-solve with clients, meeting both their retirement benefits and looking to work with some of the other team members at OneDigital as well to help cross-solve other verticals.
That's great. Yeah, a true team that you and your husband have built here in this practice. So tell me, how do you differentiate your practice and the way you go about delivering great outcomes for your clients?
Well, one thing I think my strongest suit is in relationships. And not just with the C-suite and just those who are part of our committee, but down to the other departments. And I think what differentiates us a bit is really the relationship we build. We're big on educating our clients. We want everyone to feel, whoever's touching, I'm just going to speak on the retirement side, on the retirement plan, that they are, important to us. They're valued. We're going to give them that education and training and hopefully train them up until, so they can take on bigger positions. And alternatively, though, another part that's really fun is these strategic conversations we get to have with our clients. We're not a one size fits all. Some clients are very growth oriented. They're maybe doing a lot of M&A activity and we want to learn what is important to them. So we're not just coming at them with the services we offer, but where are they going and how can we join them with what we can do? So I think what differentiates us really is we really get to know our clients. And I like to get to know them even on the personal basis because I'm someone who likes to connect beyond just the 401k plan.
Well, that's clear from just our interactions. And when we first met and the discussions we've had since then, you clearly love what you do and it comes through.
I do.
So tell us, as you brand your business, and branding, of course, can mean a lot of things. And I'm thinking of the experience that a client will have with your brand as they visit on LinkedIn and then start interacting with you. Your LinkedIn profile, for instance, is very rich in content. It's very welcoming and you have a lot of helpful content for your clients. I'd love to hear about your journey in branding, including, but not just limited to LinkedIn.
I love that question. And when we spoke last week too, before this recording, it did get me thinking of the journey I'd been on with my branding. So early in my career, I felt, it's been a very male-dominated field. I've been in this field for a very long time. Right. I felt like I had to just show my more professional, suit up and show just that persona. And what I realized as I got a little bit more experience in the field is people did business with me because of me. They knew I cared. They knew I was going to show up and they could trust me. But part of what makes me me is my authenticity of just the kind of person I am. And so what I started realizing with my branding was to bring my whole self, not just keep every part of my life siloed. So for me, it was getting people to know if they go to my LinkedIn, they're going to know who I am and what's important to me. It's my obviously what I do. I absolutely love what I do. But it's also my family, my community. I have the most amazing network in this industry. And I also value giving back. And I think anyone who looks at my LinkedIn is going to see that. And I try to, of course, do that very respectfully and professionally on LinkedIn. But not just giving back in the community, but also in our industry and advocating. So I think clients appreciate that too, because they could see the work that we do behind the scenes.
That's very cool. And it's also further evidence, not that we needed any, that people buy from people that they trust and that they like. And that goes a long way towards establishing that trust. So as you look at other places in the social media landscape that a brand can be represented, and LinkedIn and all the other channels, tell us a bit about how you translate that into lead capture and lead nurturing to start to work with clients that hopefully are the best possible fit with your ideal client profile.
Yes. Well, the first thing I think there's a few facets of that, and I'll tackle each one. The first thing is that once you make that presence, I look on my to-dos every morning. One of my first things is actually looking at LinkedIn because I want to know if anything's happening to any of my clients. Is there movement of anyone that's worked? Because as I mentioned earlier, we get to know someone who's from working in the payroll department to HR to finance, as well as the executives that serve on the investment committee. So we want to know if they've moved. We want to send them a note. If it's their birthday, of course, we want to send someone well wishes. But, from lead capture, first is representing because we want people to know what we're doing. But then also we want to see who's moving. What are other companies doing? We don't want to find out at the next committee meeting that they just had some big celebration. We want to have, we want to be a part of it. And if we're not, we want to know that we want to send them a congratulations. So for me, it's really every morning and usually one other time throughout the day, carving out time just to do my due diligence to see who do I need to touch or who maybe I can add, who's moved, who's changed to a new company that I need to add to my list and start reaching out to see if we can help them in their new home.
And as simple as that idea is, Renee, I would imagine that differentiates you significantly from everybody else in this space, given the personal touch that you bring, because I can tell with you, it's rooted in genuine sincerity, that you really are curious and interested in the well-being and personal lives of your clients.
Yes, I'm someone who's been known to send gifts. I send podcasts. I do send, someone gave me this, it's a little hourglass, a 5-minute hourglass. At a conference about 15 years ago. It's 5 minutes. So when I know people are a little harried in what they're doing, I'll send them a OneDigital hourglass to remind themselves.
That's a good reminder.
It is a good reminder. I'm a visual person. And record, books. I send a lot of books and stuff too. And so, you kind of, maybe it's because I'm a mom of 3 too. I'm not afraid to ask someone who may be going through a difficult, situation with their company to reach out and say, if this is a tough time, I'm here for you. So, I think, that's something that I try to do is not just say, congratulations on your new job. Can I talk to you about your retirement account and your benefits? But, how's the transition been? How are you feeling? Are you still remote? I try to ask them very, questions that I'm curious about. I stay curious in their new role because I really am interested in what they're doing. And if there's a way I can also highlight them and their success at their previous company, I'm going to be the person that does that.
I love it. And if you think of all the things that professional sellers can be expert in, we can be expert in our products, in markets, in financial instruments, but you're also bringing expertise in the client. You're curious and studied in what matters to them, and it puts you probably in the best possible position to service those clients when you know better than anyone else in your space what they need and what their aspirations are. Is that a fair paraphrase?
Yeah. And I think, sometimes there's some of us that get to shine a little brighter than others. And I think it helps when we can bring others along and let them shine brightly with us. So people, they get excited when you highlight them and you do it in front of their colleagues or their superiors, or and I think, even whether it's a new company they're joined, or it's their existing one, I think it's something important that we have the honor to do it, in the roles that we play.
Outstanding. Now, speaking of the rest of the industry, which that really sets a standard for and sets a nice high bar, you have been very active with NAPA. In fact, I believe you served as president of NAPA. Is that right?
I did.
Please share that journey with us.
Yes, what a journey. Well, first of all, the industry and NAPA in particular has a special place in my heart. And I have the biggest, best community, and I could give a large, appreciation, because it's raising your hand plenty of times, showing up to volunteer on different committees, showing up at the conferences, offering to speak, and really getting your hands dirty. You all of a sudden develop this network and this gift of a bunch of amazing friends, family, and a community. A lot of it's under NAPA, and you start, doing a lot, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, sometimes if you raise your hand enough, you get asked to take on a bigger leadership role. So I was very honored to serve as the president. I think I was number 11. And it was not something I was thought was going to be I wasn't targeting for that by no means. But it was one of the biggest gifts. I learned and grew so much working under Brian Graff's leadership, and just so many amazing leaders at, by all means, I guess, my competitors, but they're not, they're my family. So I'm a different person because of it, in a good way.
That's very telling, that you could interpret all those other players in this space as competitors, but you, given your approach, look at them as friends and people you can learn from, and that they can learn something from you. That's wonderful.
I think they look at me as friends as well. But yes, they're really the best people in the industry. I mean, you get with people who've hit a certain level of their career, they're volunteering, they're advocating to help protect, this industry that we really, want to help all working Americans. And you keep showing up, you're going to end up really finding really amazing people that become my family. So it's we all keep showing up. So I think that's part of it.
That's great. So what would be your message to those that maybe in the earlier stages of their careers are in the retirement plan advisor community and are looking at NAPA? Because you've been active with NAPA for how many years?
Oh my gosh, probably 8+ years, I think.
That's great.
Probably at least 8 years. Yeah.
So what's the case you would make for them of getting more involved and even serving on committees and following the journey that you did, which sounds like it was contributed wonderfully to NAPA's cause, but also that you derived a lot of value from?
I didn't know, and I guess maybe it was 9 years ago, I went to my first NAPA conference. And I think what I would, I guess, to take back to a recommendation, and if I look back, I didn't, I think, maybe my, I'm a woman of faith, so I think maybe God was leading me this way. But I showed up at a women's conference. I was asked to be on a panel, and I just started, building my network, and I'm a social person. So at that point, I knew that was my friends. Yes. Shocker. I'm always the last one to leave every party too. But when I started, then realizing, oh, wait, I can, sometimes maybe there's not room on the committee, but if I keep showing up, raising my hand, just to create, look for opportunities to first volunteer, because that's the best way to get, a group together and learn and grow. But just start building your network and even connecting with people like me. I was with, there's 9 of us, even after a conference I got together. They were my friends and from that are also leaders in our industry. And, we're each other's support. You always need support. You always need, you need a community. So I encourage people, even in their earlier stages, because I know of those ladies, all of us would accept any, friend request or LinkedIn connection to say, can I jump on a call with you? Because these are fabulous people that are looking to continue to make a difference. So don't be hesitant to reach out to people that may be more visible. because we want to bring everyone up. And so don't hesitate if you see, like my friend Janya, she's out there a lot too. I'm going to give you a bunch of names just to contact all of them. But I know all of my friends, I know and Nicole Corning here in town, they would be so excited just to jump on a call with somebody and give them some suggestions. So what I would encourage anyone new, and even for the men, call Paul Diatello from UBS. I'm going to just name drop here. But just reach out and not be hesitant to do that, because there's so many of us have been, doing this for a long time. We want to talk with you. Some of the best messages I've received was actually my presidency. When I had the opportunity to be on stage and speak, I've gotten so many emails from, younger people in the business, and not just younger, and men and women. And it really filled my soul because, you think like, of course, I'm Renee, just come up and talk to me and I'm here for you. And I was really surprised at how, people felt like that was, maybe they were hesitant to reach out to me. So I would say the first thing is reach out to people that may be ahead of their career than you. Don't be afraid to start building your network, someone who's at the same, page as you, so you can collaborate, share ideas. I've got another great group that was started because of the Women in Retirement with like Janine Moore from Hub, who's a dear friend, and Pam Brooks from GRP. And there's 9 of us that get on a call every month. So I just, if you look at my link, and someone, a friend said earlier to me, she's like, you've got the best network because you've got leaders and you've got, peers, and you've got, clients at all levels and new people. But just don't be afraid to start building your network. I think it's the secret sauce and having just doing this with purpose and enjoying the journey.
I love it. And that's a very generous way to think about your business. But as you're pointing out, Renee, that generosity returns a lot back to you. Yes. And that's wonderful. So as we're here in the start of the year, it's Q1. Many of us are in the midst of whether it's dry January, financial planning,
I'm
all
not
the
doing that.
our New Year's resolutions, all that, right? Yeah. Tell us about your planning process. I'd love to hear what you do to both keep score of your progress throughout the year, but also in this early part of the year, how you set in place a planning motion for you and your team and your clients.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Dan, do we have time? How much time do we have? I had to put together, I've actually started working with a wonderful branding specialist, which I'm super excited. So hopefully more to come. But I had to put together my morning routine, and I'm big on, positivity, mindfulness, and I'm very competitive. So my husband loves that sometimes. So I think for me, first is making sure your morning routine is set you up for success so you can run fast, whatever that fast is for you. Alignment of your values with how you do business. And then I'll talk about my goal setting. So I took a step back one time and said, because you start getting wrapped up in business and you were in, some of the organizations are very money focused, goal, growth. But you were like, wait, where's my values? Are they aligned with how I'm doing business? So when I learned of how I was going to set my goals, I was ensuring that my values aligned with them. And so my values really are about purpose, about community, shocker on there, and having fun. And so I wanted to bring that into my goal setting. I also, and you'll hear I talked to my client relationship manager, Lorinda, I always said, like, what do you do that you don't like to do? Or what things give you fire, get you excited? I ask those kinds of questions just to make sure people we're filling up their buckets as much as we can. But when I look at my goals, I try to run fast at the end of the year because I want to start off the new year in the right way. So I schedule my Januaries with my my friends that are, I guess, in league or business terms, my COIs, but we're more friends. I make sure my January is loaded up with fun meetings that I can look forward to. I try to take things off my calendar that don't bring me joy. Sometimes you can't help that, but that don't give me that continued energy. For tracking, I think, I'm someone who's done a lot of fitness types of things or food things where you track your food. It's almost like the same thing as when you go to step on that scale, you want to know you put the work in. So I try to do at least 3 contacts every morning. And so then this way, if I am in the morning, I can mark it off my list. I try to keep my list of my prospects, really easy to find. So if I'm, have some little time, I can reach out, send them a message. I can, make sure nothing's changed in their world. But I think for me, for goal setting, it's really setting up the year end strong for a strong next year, aligning how I do business. Because if I just put a list and say I'm going to, cold call, because I haven't cold called in a long time, I'm not going to be successful because that's not how I'm good, how I build business. So I look at where did I get the most business from? What was my strengths this past year? What did I maybe, learn from, not maybe failed forward. And so for me, it was about relationships. So I made sure that the beginning of my year was building even more relationships that can send me business. And then each month I track it. I track close. I track how many meetings I had. And then I think each month, okay, now we're in February. What do I need to do to make this month successful? So I try to do it in bite-sized pieces.
That's great. That's certainly comprehensive. I'm particularly intrigued by purging from your calendar those things that you're not deriving inspiration from. How do you make that judgment call? Because certainly there's some things that are drudgery, but mandatory, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'd love to hear some examples and what your journey's been and arriving at that.
Well, I learned that when I started looking at my calendar and I started getting exhausted from it because, I have now the ability. Oh, just looking at it. I mean, today was a bit exhausting. Yeah. And sometimes it's not even the meeting itself, but it's how we approach the meeting. So I look at a meeting. I had a meeting one time and it was just actually last week and I was dredging this meeting. And I thought, can I look at my 3 values of purpose, community, and fun? Can I change that? And I actually did. It was one of the best meetings I think I've had. And I have new friends from this meeting. Wow. Now, if I look at a meeting and I look, and some of it of course you have to do, but I try to take it to those 3 values. But can I turn it to a phone call? Can I just call them? And because sometimes everyone wants to get on your calendar and then you've got a half hour, an hour block. Sometimes I'll pick up the phone and say, I had an email today from referring one of my COIs. And I, instead of calling, of emailing her, I picked up the phone and called her and had a really nice talk. And now I have a new contact too. So sometimes, instead of putting another, email, impersonal community, it's our meeting on the calendar, because if I would have scheduled that time with her, then it would have been like, now I got to look at it. When am I ready? It's going to come at a bad time. So I just picked up the phone, made a quick phone call. I'll delegate. I'll send things to people that maybe it might be something they'd be more excited about. And I really just try to be very intentional. So there's times that we say yes because we feel obligation. And sometimes it's okay to tell somebody, you know what? This isn't a good time for this meeting. Can I just call you on Friday at noon and just have a brief conversation or something like that? I stop feeling obligated to always have meetings. And even with some clients, we really don't need a meeting on this. This email should be sufficient. Is that okay? Or do you want to jump on a call? It's just things like that, being a little bit more intentional with your time. But, there's so much that fills our days. And if we're constantly looking at the Zoom, running to a meeting, we can't really be efficient with our time. So I try to really be intentional. So I'll look at my week and make some shifts or, where I need to be.
That's highly valuable. You've inspired me because I love the narrative that we don't have to feel like victims of the items that have populated our calendar. We should take control and make value judgments as to what other form can they take. And I love that you changed your attitude about some of them that should still happen, and you just brought a different approach and made it a very positive experience. That's the best way to take control of that.
Well, and if you lead with authenticity of what you really value, I mean, I learned on this meeting I had, there were some ladies on it, and they were so fun. And I just asked them some open-ended questions, and and once you kind of break that seal, it's like there's just nothing better. But I do think, like, if people really look at, I think we've gotten in this like rat race of AUM and growth. Well, we're all growth oriented, but if we actually look at human component, because whoever's on that other line of that meeting is also, they're at their job. They're not, they're working too. And if you could be that light to them, where they're excited to talk to you, and they can get off the call. I mean, I even try to make my committee meetings as fun as they can, because you want them to want to talk with you. You don't want to also be the one who needs to meet with them and they're drudging it. So I think as I've learned in this, my whole life is just, I try to like put it all to, a little bit together. So people, no matter who you are, where you are in my journey, you get me. You don't get a different version of me because I'm showing up as the senior vice president of retirement. I'm showing up as Renee Scherzer, and it makes it fun, more fun for me, and it's a lot less exhausting.
Well, I would imagine, Renee, that you give those people you're interacting with the best part of their day and what they might not have known they were going to experience in that conversation. I love your energy, and you lead with, in a word, as you put it, humanity. And when you lead with that, generally human beings I found are curious and want to know your story. And they certainly love to be asked their own story, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's, it doesn't need to take, 10 minutes of a 30-minute conversation. But even, just paying attention if they have a picture behind them, or something to say, what I've been meaning to ask you, what is that picture? I mean, but you have to really mean it. You can't,
yes.
You have to actually, but yes, you have to be absolutely curious, because there's times where I'm in turbo mode and I've got to get through so much. And all of a sudden I'm like, we cannot be chit-chatting this much. Like, I have got to get to the next meeting. But there is, what I try to do more often than not. And I'm a work in progress. I accept my imperfections. I used to think I had to be perfect and figure out everything, not make any mistakes. And when you just show up who you are, it just makes things so much fun. And it's the amazing people that come into your life, whether it's clients, whether it's industry professionals. You just really start looking at the impact you're making is beyond whatever whatever growth you had. But in the process, as you start building your network, people want to work with you. You grow, and it just happens. It's hard work, but there's some intentionality to it. But people want to work with people that aren't just looking at them for the next sale. They want to, and looking to close a deal. They want to work with someone who's also going to have interest in them. So I think that's been what's been my success.
That's wonderful. And that's a wonderful summary to the value you've brought to this conversation and to our audience. Renee, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you generously sharing not just your business process, but your life philosophy. I feel inspired as a result. So thank you so much. And for all of our listeners and viewers, we will be doing another episode of Gray to Great coming up soon. Renee, I will see you at Napa in the spring in Vegas.
Oh,
all right. Cheers.
Thanks,
so long.
Dan.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for tuning in to Gray to Great. I hope you're walking away with a few new ideas, a few bold strategies, and a bit more fuel to take your business further than ever. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a colleague. The best way to stay sharp is to keep learning together. So I'll see you next time right here, where we will cut through the noise to bring you what really matters. Until then, keep pushing forward, because there's no gray area in achieving success.